Johnny Depp's life took a turn from cherished to chaotic, dragging him through conflict, tears, and wounds that refused to heal. In 2012, after nearly 2 decades with Vanessa Paradis, they separated. Shortly after, Depp publicly confirmed his relationship with Amber Heard, whom he met while filming The Rum Diary. They married in 2015, but the union crumbled swiftly. After just 15 months, Heard filed for divorce and accused him of abuse, triggering a tragic chapter no one foresaw. Hollywood, which had once embraced him like a golden child, now recoiled. Fame, as many learn, is a fickle companion, granting everything, then snatching it away. Depp was accused, labeled, and judged. The world didn't wait for the truth. No one paused to listen. The script had already been rewritten. Once the magical pirate who inspired millions, he was now cast as the villain. Consequences came swiftly. Disney removed him from Pirates of the Caribbean, Warner Brothers asked him to leave Fantastic Beasts, and major studios turned their backs. Endorsements vanished, the press erupted, friends disappeared, and he became a ghost in the very world that once bowed before him. The pain wasn't just public, it was deeply private. Depp later confessed he felt erased, not just as an actor but as a human being. "I didn't do this for revenge," he once wrote. "I did it to survive." In 2020, he lost a libel case against The Sun, which had called him a wife-beater. It wasn't just a legal loss, it felt like a public erasure of his voice and pain. But then, a leaked audio tape shifted everything. Heard admitted to acts of violence. Suddenly, the world hesitated. The hashtag Justice for Johnny Depp spread globally. People began to wonder, had we misunderstood him all along? In 2022, Depp stood in a Virginia courtroom for 6 weeks, not as a star, but as a broken man. He spoke of betrayal, humiliation, and lost years. He didn't cry to prove innocence, but simply to be seen. When the verdict came, he wasn't triumphant, he was simply acknowledged. Outside, thousands of fans wept, holding signs, writing letters, recognizing their own pain in his. It wasn't about money. What Depp truly wanted back was his name. Yet even in victory, the damage lingered. Sources say he spoke to almost no one after the trial, retreating into the quiet countryside of Somerset, England. He moved into a vast 800,000 square meter estate. No press, no fanfare. In a quiet interview, he whispered, "I don't live to be noticed anymore. I live to be at peace." That wasn't an artistic statement, it was a farewell to the spotlight, a surrender to the silence. "I don't act anymore. I survive," he once said. The deepest pain, however, came from watching his children, Lily Rose and Jack, grow up under the shadow of whispers and headlines about their father. He never fully recovered. He simply learned to live with the wound. Then came music, his return to the stage with Jeff Beck, his musical soulmate. They toured as if youth hadn't been stolen, but Beck passed away, and with him another part of Johnny vanished. Loneliness became a shadow. In that silence, Depp painted, not to forget, but to remember. "I paint to not forget," he once shared. In a private room, he kept every piece of trial evidence, letters, recordings, medical records, not as trophies, but as scars. Remembering, for him, is endurance. His massive surreal canvases reflected solitude, loss, and longing. They sold for millions, not for fame, but for their honesty. "Painting is how I say what I can't in words," he said, and finally, the world listened. Music followed. He toured with the Hollywood Vampires across Europe. His voice, hoarse and broken, wasn't about performance. It was catharsis. Critics noticed, this wasn't acting, it was healing. Dior, unlike Hollywood, stayed. They reused old footage for the Savage campaign, and it broke global sales records, not for glamour, but for quiet defiance. A media executive said it best, "Johnny doesn't need Hollywood anymore, and that terrifies Hollywood." Depp rejected dozens of scripts. He no longer wanted to play others. He wanted to be himself, perhaps for the first time. Then, in 2023, he returned to the screen in Jean du Barry, portraying King Louis XV. The film premiered at Cannes and received a 7-minute standing ovation, not just for the performance, but for the survivor behind it. In 2024, he returned to directing with Modi, a film chronicling the last 72 hours of painter Amedeo Modigliani's life. Depp didn't star in it, but behind the camera, It felt as though he was directing a lost version of himself. He also voiced Johnny Puff in an animated film, showing his commitment to storytelling in all forms. Most notably, in 2025, he made his Hollywood comeback in Day Drinker, starring alongside Penelope Cruz in a deep psychological thriller. Still, a shadow remained. A French director noted that Johnny's eyes looked hollow, like a part of him had never left that courtroom. A close friend said, "He laughs, but there's silence behind it. He walks the gardens of Somerset now, quiet, reflective." Locals say he visits the library often, borrowing comics and books, as if reclaiming the calm childhood he never had. No bodyguards. No noise. Just a man learning to breathe again. In July 2023, he collapsed in a Budapest hotel before a concert. Just weeks earlier, he had appeared in public with a crutch after injuring his ankle. Exhaustion, chronic pain, and years of substance use had taken their toll. The show was cancelled, a stark reminder that even survivors pay a price. In a private performance, Depp once whispered, "I have nothing left to shout about." It wasn't despair, it was peace. Hollywood came knocking with offers, but he declined, not out of pride, but principle. "I've lost every definition of who I was," he once wrote. "And when there was nothing left, I began again with the smallest thing I still had, myself." This isn't the story of a man returning stronger, it's the story of a man who refused to shatter. A man who let silence speak louder than scandal. A man who survived with grace. Depp is no longer the eccentric icon, pirate, or rebel. He is a man who stood at the edge of everything he loved, watched it fall, and found the strength to stand again, not with thunder, but with a whisper. When the world no longer expected anything, Johnny Depp, older but unbroken, finally spoke. In a culture obsessed with controversy, Depp re-emerged as a symbol of quiet resilience. In 2024, he received the Lifetime Achievement Award at the Rome Film Festival. That same year, Modi premiered to critical acclaim at San Sebastian. Yet beyond red carpets, his greatest legacy may be his compassion. He frequently visited children's hospitals dressed as Captain Jack Sparrow, surprising patients at Donostia Hospital in Spain. He supported medical causes like Sophie's Gift, and donated his $1 million defamation settlement to 5 charities, including those aiding children, indigenous communities, and environmental protection. His art shows drew artists like Robert Downey Jr., who publicly backed Depp's renaissance. His music supported causes like the UK Foster Youth Campaign. Bruised by the past, Depp now stands on a legacy built not just on films, but empathy, survival, and grace. His journey reminds us that an artist's worth isn't measured by awards, but by how they touch lives when no one's watching. And perhaps that is Johnny Depp's most enduring performance, staying human in a world that tried to turn him into a headline. At 61, he has taken off the final mask, not a role, not a legend, but a man bearing scars who still yearns to live truthfully. What we always suspected, he now affirms. The pain was real. The silence was survival. And what he seeks now isn't applause, but peace. If Johnny ever touched your life, if one of his characters gave you comfort, leave a word below. Because maybe, like him, you've also walked through storms no one ever saw. For over 4 decades, a love story unfolded quietly in Hollywood, one that defied its odds and never needed wedding rings to be real. In a world where relationships often unravel under the weight of fame, Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell remained a steady, grounding presence. Together, they raised a blended family and built a life anchored not in spectacle but in quiet strength, proving that true partnership isn't declared on paper, it's lived in the ordinary, faithful, enduring moments. Goldie continues her mission through Mind UP, now a global force in children's mental wellness. Under her leadership, the program has reached more than 7 million children worldwide, helping them breathe through anxiety, focus their minds, and believe in their worth. For Goldie, this impact far outweighs any box office number. Her legacy isn't just about the films she made, it's about the spirit she brought to the world. She has lived with laughter, yes, but also with conviction, courage, and an unwavering belief that joy isn't something stumbled into. It's something you cultivate through pain, through choice, and through resilience. Her influence reaches far beyond the screen and into classrooms and communities. To fellow artists, she's a symbol of reinvention and integrity. To women, she's proof that beauty doesn't expire, and that a voice once silenced by ageism can still echo with power. And to everyday people fighting invisible battles, Goldie Hawn is hope wrapped in grace. She may no longer headline blockbusters or dominate tabloids, but her light hasn't dimmed, it simply turned inward, shining where it matters most. Goldie's story is no longer one of fame, but of purpose. Not of applause, but of deep, meaningful impact. And in that quiet, extraordinary legacy, she continues to shine. But time, as it always does, begins to take its toll. When old age arrives, it rarely does so with thunder. It comes quietly, through slower steps, longer silences, and a fading light that once burned so vibrantly. And now, in a moment that has shaken the hearts of many, the world receives devastating news. Goldie Hawn, the woman whose laughter once echoed through theaters, whose joy once danced across silver screens, is now facing vision loss, fragile health, and a profound stillness that only time and age can bring. It feels unbearably cruel that someone who gave so much light to the world must now walk through shadows. It is heartbreaking beyond words to witness the icon of joy slowly disappear into silence. And yet, in this sorrow, there is reverence. Goldie's life has always been a testament to grace under fire, to strength in vulnerability, and to beauty that transcends the surface. Though she may no longer stand in the spotlight, her spirit, gentle, fierce, luminously human, continues to shine through every soul she's touched. If you've ever cried or laughed with Goldie's performances, if she brought you comfort, nostalgia, or joy that felt like home, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Let every video from Civ's Rewind be your journey back through time, a gentle reminder of the stars who shaped our hearts and the echoes they've left behind.